Hello everyone, what's up? Welcome to GMA24 Update News Channel. Hope you will enjoy our news video. Before we begins, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Here is the news. Title Reform UK tears into Kemi Badenoch's first 100 days with brutal prop reform. UK has been handing out a new book about the Tory leader's first 100 days in post-reform. UK has slammed Kemi Badenoch's first 100 days in the job with a new political prop. Handed out by staffers to journalists this morning, it's a thick book with Kemi Badenoch's photo, with the title, Highlights from My First 100 Days. However opening. The book up, it quickly becomes apparent every page is blank, in a brutal attack that Ms. Badenoch has done nothing during her first few weeks in the job. The front page also includes a faux sticker review from Reform UK, reading, Perfect for a long holiday, a real page-turner. A Reform source added, just like her polling numbers, it makes for great reading. Here's to the next 100 days. Ms. Badenoch's first 100 days as Conservative Party leader has been a mixed bag. While some polls suggest she's neck and neck with Labour, if not slightly ahead, this has largely been due to the collapse in popularity of the government, rather than an improved view of the Tories. She's also constantly battling for airtime and attention against Nigel Farage and Reform UK, a problem no other Conservative leader has had to deal with. The media especially appear much more interested in Reform UK, the soaring upstarts, rather than the battered, bruised Tory party still struggling to position itself. She's also facing a crisis of funding, as she mulls having to move Tory party headquarters out of its current grand venue on Matthew Parker Street in central Westminster. Reform UK is courting Tory donors hard, and last month hosted a fundraiser in Mayfair with tickets selling for between $10,000 and $25,000 each. Writing on the Conservative Home website this morning, Tory party chairman Nigel Huddleston argued Kemi Badenoch has a plan and in her first 100 days is already putting it into action. He insisted, "We will use our time in opposition wisely." It notably did not mention Nigel Farage or Reform UK once. This morning, a Guardian piece on Ms. Badenoch's first 100 days carried a quote from one anonymous Tory MP who argued there is no point trying to rush the Tories back, as the public won't care about them for at least 18 months after their historic defeat last July. They added, "From that point of view, Kemi's caution in not rushing into policies makes sense. No one is listening yet. She has time." Unlike other periods for the Tories in opposition, some argue Ms. Badenoch does not have the luxury of time, given the insurgent Reform UK movement. Polls consistently show Nigel Farage to be the most popular party leader in Britain, and Reform are frequently ahead of the Tories in elections. Has taken a scathing approach in its critique of Kemi Badenoch's first 100 days as Conservative Party leader, distributing a blank book as a metaphor for what they allege to be a period of inaction. This symbolic attack underscores Reform UK's aggressive positioning against both the Tories and Labour as they seek to cement themselves as a dominant force in British politics. The prop, which was handed out to journalists, featured a cover with Badenoch's image and the title, Highlights from My First 100 Days. However, when opened, it was revealed to be entirely blank. Reform UK accompanied the stunt with a mock review sticker that read, Perfect for a long holiday, a real page-turner. This bold move is just the latest in a series of attacks, meant to highlight what Reform UK sees as Badenoch's inability to make a meaningful impact. One Reform UK source remarked, "Just like her polling numbers, it makes for great reading. Here's to the next 100 days." This comment reflects the party's confidence that they are not only a viable alternative to the Tories, but also the primary force shaping right-wing politics in the UK today. Badenoch's challenges in her first 100 days. Kemi Badenoch's tenure as Conservative Party leader has been fraught with challenges. While some polls indicate that she is performing neck and neck with Labour, this is largely attributed to a decline in Labour's popularity, rather than a surge in support for the Tories. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party faces several obstacles. Competing for media attention. Unlike past Conservative leaders, Badenoch is competing for right-wing media coverage against Nigel Farage and Reform UK, whose rise has captivated journalists and commentators alike. The insurgent nature of Reform UK has made them a fresh and dynamic force, while the Tories appear to be struggling to redefine their position after their historic election defeat. Financial struggles. Reports suggest that the Conservative Party is grappling with financial difficulties, potentially necessitating a move from its prestigious headquarters on Matthew Parker Street. This financial strain is exacerbated by Reform UK actively courting traditional Tory donors, with high-profile fundraising events such as their Mayfair dinner, where tickets sold for between $10,000 and $25,000. Lack of public interest. Some Conservative insiders believe that the public remains disinterested in the party for the time being. An anonymous Tory MP recently told The Guardian that trying to rush the Tories back into the spotlight is futile, as voters are unlikely to engage with them for at least another 18 months. This perception has led Badenoch to adopt a more cautious approach, refraining from pushing major policy changes immediately. Reform UK's Ascent Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, has positioned itself as a serious challenger not only to the Conservatives, but also to Labour. Polls consistently show Farage as the most popular political leader in Britain, and Reform UK often outperforms the Tories in voting intention surveys. This shift underscores the deep dissatisfaction among right-leaning voters with the Conservative Party's direction and effectiveness. The party's aggressive tactics, such as the blank book stunt, are designed to highlight what they perceive as the stagnation of the Tory leadership under Badenoch. Unlike previous right-wing challengers, Reform UK is well-funded, media-savvy, and tapping into public discontent with both major parties. Their strategy is paying off, as they continue to attract defectors from the Conservative base and beyond. The road ahead. While Kemi Badenoch and her team argue that they are methodically laying the groundwork for a Conservative resurgence, the realities of opposition politics and the looming threat of Reform UK suggest that she may not have the luxury of time. The party's financial woes, lack of clear messaging, and difficulties in capturing media attention all pose significant hurdles. Meanwhile, Reform UK is capitalizing on every misstep, making it increasingly difficult for the Tories to regain momentum. With Nigel Farage leading a party that many see as the true opposition to Labour, Badenoch must decide whether to continue her cautious approach or take bolder action to reclaim the right-wing political space. If Reform UK's recent attacks are any indication, the battle for the soul of Britain's Conservative movement is only just as Donald Trump threatens to slap huge tariffs on 2 imports. Donald Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on a number of countries while U.S. president in a bid to bolster U.S. manufacturing. Donald Trump has threatened to slap 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports, despite UK ministers predicting Britain would avoid a trade clash with the US president. Senior Treasury Minister Darren Jones had predicted that Mr. Trump would not impose heavy tariffs on the UK after Labour insisted it can do business with the incoming US administration. When asked if the UK had a plan to deal with potential trade tariffs from the incoming Trump government, he said, "I don't think we're going to be in that scenario." Get the latest. But in a late-night announcement, Mr. Trump said steel could now also face tariffs. UK ministers and officials will be hammering the phones on Monday to get more information out of the White House about what comes next and whether the UK can get an exemption. This will include a flurry of activity from the new US Ambassador Peter Mandelson as he confronts his first major diplomatic challenge in the role. A UK official told Playbook on Sunday night that British diplomats were immediately engaging the U.S. system on steel and aluminum tariffs. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One, Mr. Trump said, "We'll also be announcing steel tariffs on Monday. Everybody, steel. Any steel coming into the United States will have 25% tariffs. Aluminum too." About 1/10 of the UK's total steel exports were sent to America in 2024. But the industry is already in long-term decline in the UK, and this could be the start of more tariffs on different products entering the US. It is in the best interests of both the UK and US that the two countries carry on with their balanced trade, a minister has said in response to Mr. Trump's threat to impose tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. Dame Angela Eagle told Sky News. "We have a very balanced trading relationship with the U.S. I think $300 billion worth of trade between our countries, and I think it's in the best interests of both of us, as long-standing allies and neighbors, that we carry on with that balanced trade. We will have to wait and see whether the president gets more specific about what he meant by that comment on the way to the Super Bowl. Westminster will be watching to see whether Sir Keir follows in China's footsteps by retaliating. The communist nation's tit-for-tat import taxes on some American goods came into effect on Monday. Beijing announced the plan on 4 February minutes, after new U.S. levies of 10% on all Chinese products came into effect. China's latest tariffs on U.S. goods include a 15% border tax on imports of U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas products. There is also a 10% tariff on American crude oil, agricultural, machinery and large engine cars. Red-faced as Donald Trump threatens to slap huge tariffs on 2 imports introduction. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has once again stirred international economic tensions by threatening to impose a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports. This announcement comes despite earlier predictions from senior UK ministers that Britain would avoid such trade clashes. The move has sent shockwaves through Westminster, leaving Labour scrambling for answers, and UK officials working around the clock to secure an exemption. Background: Trump's protectionist policies. Trump's economic philosophy has long been centered on America First, a policy that prioritizes U.S. manufacturing and domestic job creation over international trade agreements. During his first term, Trump imposed steep tariffs on China and other trading partners in an effort to curb what he described as unfair trade practices. Now, with the possibility of a second Trump presidency looming, his renewed push for trade protectionism threatens to disrupt global markets once again. UK government's initial miscalculation. Senior Treasury Minister Darren Jones had initially dismissed the possibility of UK steel and aluminum exports being caught up in Trump's tariff plans. When questioned about potential trade barriers under the new U.S. administration, Jones confidently stated, "I don't think we're going to be in that scenario." However, Trump's sudden announcement has exposed a glaring miscalculation in Labour's approach to the former president's trade policies. UK ministers scramble to respond. In response to Trump's late-night announcement, UK officials have begun urgent diplomatic efforts to mitigate the impact of the tariffs. On Monday morning, government representatives, including the newly appointed U.S. Ambassador Peter Mandelson, launched discussions with White House officials to seek clarification and potentially negotiate exemptions. According to a senior UK official, British diplomats are already engaging the U.S. system on steel and aluminum tariffs. Economic impact on the UK steel industry. The UK steel industry, already struggling with long-term decline, faces significant consequences if Trump's tariffs are implemented. Approximately 10% of the UK's steel exports were destined for the United States in 2024. With additional costs imposed by a 25% tariff, British steel manufacturers could become uncompetitive in the U.S. market. Industry experts warn that the tariffs could lead to further job losses, reduced production, and a potential exodus of investment in the sector. Political implications for Labour's insistence that it could maintain smooth trade relations with Trump's administration is now under scrutiny. The party's failure to anticipate this trade clash has put Sir Keir Starmer in a difficult position, raising questions about Labour's ability to navigate complex global economic challenges. As the opposition and media pile on criticism, Labour must now craft a new strategy to address the growing economic uncertainty. Comparisons to China's retaliatory measures. Westminster is now watching closely to see whether the UK will follow China's lead in retaliating against Trump's tariffs. Beijing responded swiftly to U.S. import taxes by imposing its own levies on American goods, including coal, liquefied natural gas, crude oil, and agricultural machinery. While China's tit-for-tat approach signals its willingness to push back against U.S. economic pressure, the UK faces a more delicate balancing act, given its historical alliance with Washington. The broader trade relationship between the UK and U.S. trade between the UK and the U.S. is valued at approximately $300 billion annually, making it one of the most significant bilateral economic relationships. Dame Angela Eagle has emphasized the importance of maintaining this balance, stating, "It is in the best interests of both the UK and US that we carry on with our balanced trade." However, if Trump continues to pursue aggressive protectionist policies, the UK may be forced to reconsider its approach and seek alternative markets. Potential outcomes and next steps. With Trump's tariff threat now looming large, UK ministers must act swiftly to negotiate a resolution. Possible next steps include seeking exemptions. UK officials will continue engaging with the US administration to secure a carve-out from the tariffs, similar to those negotiated in previous trade disputes. Strengthening trade alliances. The UK may look to diversify its trade portfolio by deepening relationships with the EU, Commonwealth nations, and emerging markets. Domestic support for the steel industry. Increased government support and investment in the UK's steel industry could help offset the negative impact of the tariffs. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comment below. If you like my video, please press like button and subscribe for more. Hope I'll see you in next video.